Perfect. So well, I think you are. We'll let the crowd, we'll crowdsource all the ideas. And I don't want to get formal where you're doing this thing on every idea, but just kind of think about it. I have to be a little humble. So when somebody says, Neil, it's not working, that I'm open to it. Is that kind of what you're saying? I have to be self-aware. I have to be moldable myself by the team. I have to be vulnerable. So after my big ERP experience, where people that I loved, I was going to name my children after these 10 people. Even though my children were already born, I was going to change their names because I loved and cared about these people so deeply, only to find out they never even wanted to utter my name again. That hurt. But I had two choices. I could either be hurt and get angry, or I could be hurt and become reflective. I decided to become reflective, and I started looking at leadership differently. And what I decided, here's another crazy idea. Before I go to the next slide, I said I need to redefine my role as a leader. My role as a leader is not to know how to do things. It's not to deliver the project. It's not to be the expert. It is to create a culture. The analogy is I'm going to design the container inside of which the work takes place. I own culture. And if I own culture, what kind of culture do I think is best? And so I thought back on the best leadership experiences I'd had, meaning the people I followed and wanted to follow. And I kind of pulled those characteristics together. And I once had this amazing consultant tell me, any valid idea can only be presented as a 4-box model. So I created this 4-box model called the trust ownership model. Here's my thesis. As a leader, my job is to create a culture. The culture is the container inside of which the work takes place. And that culture is one of high trust and high ownership. So here on the vertical axis, high trust versus high control. High trust versus high control. On the horizontal axis, high versus low team and individual ownership, meaning I know why my work matters, I know what we have to deliver, and I will own that delivery. And no one needs to check up on me because I own it. So, does this sync with your experience? Think about the best leadership experience you had. The best leader, the one that you would follow to the ends of that earth. Does this align with the way that person operates? High trust versus high control, and high team and individual ownership. I know why we're doing this. I know what needs to get done. I will own it. If it does, I'm on to something. And maybe it's something you can think about. In any leadership role you're in, and my point from earlier was every person is an influential leader. Even if they don't have positional authority, they have influential authority in some aspect. Then we want to move towards, like in any good 4-box model, we always run up in the upper right. So let's talk about the quadrants. So if control is high and trust is low, I call that command and control. That's been the operative leadership model forever. Why has it been the operative model? Because it works. It's not optimal, but it works. This is the heroic leader. This is the leader who is the expert. This is the leader who makes the decisions. This is the one who knows what to do. Solves the problems. The extreme version of that over in this lower left corner is micromanagement. Now, I don't think micromanagement has ever worked. Anybody here ever worked for a micromanager? Raise your hand. Just don't point to that person if they're in this room. Okay, keep your hands up. How many of you enjoyed working for that micromanager? Never. I think I'm on to something. Trust and ownership. But this has worked. One of the reasons I talked about the three aspects of our environment today, speed, ambiguity, and innovation driven by technology, is I don't think this works anymore. Because when the cycles are fast and the future is unclear, and everything's driven by technology, and technology changes every minute of every day, no one person knows enough to be a command and control leader. I tell my teams, as brilliant as I am, even I can't do it, which means you have no choice. You're doomed, because you're nowhere near as good as I am. I'm just kidding, I never talk that way. I just think that way. So command and control, I don't think it works anymore. The landscape is littered with companies and teams who had a command and control leader that could not keep up, because that command and control leader becomes a bottleneck for speed, problem solving, decision making, and innovation. Can't do it. Okay. Now, if the team feels a high sense of ownership. Now, one other thing I should say in terms of this culture, sometimes the control doesn't just come from the leader, but comes from the processes. Sometimes there are controlling processes. So we have to look at our processes and the metrics that accompany those processes and ask, are they high trust or high control? If they're high control, eliminate them, change them, get rid of them. I'll tell you a quick story, and I've got to keep track of time. Before I was OC Tanner, I was the turnaround CIO at Western Governors University. Anybody know about Western Governors University? It's a great institution, rapidly growing. They now got about 90,000 students. It's a great success story. My first year, we had decided the day before July 3rd, we were going to have a IT team potluck, kind of build relationships. I got a really fractured, low morale, low results, actually abysmal results IT team. We're trying to build things up. So let's have a potluck the day before July 3rd, and I volunteered to bring the ice cream sandwiches. So on July 2nd, I went to Costco and I bought a bunch of ice cream sandwiches. And because, you know, we had money at WGE. We had lots of money. They're a nonprofit that makes amazing cash. You wouldn't believe it. So I also got those really good Haagen-Dazs bars, because I myself can like eat 300 of those. So I bought a lot. And so I got the ice cream sandwiches. Then, you know, that was on July 3rd. We had the potluck. Everybody was happy. They go to July 4th. And then the following week, it's time for me to get reimbursed. So I took my Costco receipt, which was pretty long, and I had some other travel I'd done. So it's kind of a combined receipt. And I put it on because the policy from the accounting group was that you had to hand in a paper copy of your receipts. So I laid down the copy machine with a few other receipts. And when I closed the lid of the copy machine, there was a little puff of air, and the receipt got tilted just a bit. You know what I mean? And what it did, it cut off the last digit of the year. So it was like July 2nd, 2012. You couldn't see the 2. It was 201, nothing. So I submitted. And it was like for $68 or something like that. And accounting calls me back and they rejected it. They said, we need to know what year. Well, yeah, we can't see the year. I said, first of all, the implication is I've been dragging this receipt around since at least 2010. And now's my chance. I'm going to stick it to WG for $67 and get this receipt handled now, and I'm going to get money for ice cream sandwiches that WG actually didn't consume. I said, that's the first assumption. The second one is, we can't trust Niel Nickolaisen with $67, even though on my signature alone, I could sign contracts for $500,000 with no one reviewing them at all. I'm not kidding you. So you trust me with $500,000, but not 67? It just offended me. Now, admittedly, I didn't handle it well. By the time I got done explaining, I thought very logically the two reasons this refusal to reimburse me didn't make sense. The poor accounts payable clerk was crying, and I had to apologize to her and everybody else. I didn't handle it well. But that's a controlling process. We have to be careful about the processes we have in place. There's some research done about 2010 by this PhD at Berkeley, Cal Berkeley. It ended up being a book he wrote called Toxic Bosses. He said that sometimes what happens as people climb the leadership ladder in their attempt to control, now they're further away from the action. The action happens on the front lines. They still want to make all the decisions as if they were on the front line. So they then require the members of their teams to give them volumes of data so they can continue to make the decisions. Because they're no longer where the action is taking place. He said they become toxic bosses. It's true. So what's the lightest weight way to accomplish a goal? That's what I asked myself. In our case, we have about 90 priority one projects we track on a regular basis. How do I know the status of those projects? And how do I know the status of those projects without becoming a burden to the team? Because I'd rather they're doing work than giving me status reports. What's that balance? And that's what you got to sort through. Okay, anyway, I was kind of went on a tangent there. Okay, let's say the team wants ownership, takes ownership, but I'm controlling them or the processes are controlling them. Then you get into conflict like me and my WGU ice cream sandwich receipt. It creates conflict. Or the leadership and the processes are high trust, but no one ever takes ownership. Then you got to have that. I don't think either of these two are sustainable over time. The conflict will eventually get resolved in a negative way. And the apathy means nothing. The right stuff will never get done. So the boxes that are most interesting to me are going from wherever you are towards high trust, high ownership, which introduces the two questions we should ask. This thing I'm doing, or this thing I'm thinking of doing, will it increase trust and will it increase ownership? If the answer is no, don't do it. If the answer is yes, do it. But, there's a but there. Some of it has to be based on team maturity and readiness. We have to factor that into that as well. All right, any questions? Any questions? We've been stuck on this slide for a long time. I rambled. I don't know if you got anything out of it or not. So I ask myself all the time, this thing I'm about to do, will it increase trust? Will it increase ownership? If not, I probably better not do it. If so, I better do it soon. And I actually filter now almost every one of my actions through the trust ownership filter. Okay. Just write this down. Write down if you want to, go to YouTube. Put in 3 words in a YouTube search and spend 10 minutes watching Dan Pink Drive. Dan Pink Drive. Those are the 3 words. YouTube, Dan Pink Drive. It's this very entertaining 10-minute thing that talks about the 3 drivers of motivation. It's about 10 years old. It's probably 12 years old now, probably 15, I can't even remember. But he says the thing that motivates knowledge workers, 3 things. 1, autonomy. Don't micromanage. 2, mastery. I want to get better. And 3, align my work to a higher purpose. Keep those in mind because it fits nicely with this trust ownership model. Autonomy, mastery, purpose. Okay, so what are some things we can do to create a culture of trust? We already talked about some of these. One is what I call trust first. Trust first is this way. Here's trust last. I've got a big project. You're the perfect guy to do it. But I don't think you're ready for it. So I'm going to give you something that's not very important, but will prove to me you can do unimportant things. And then I'll think about maybe give something that's a little less unimportant. And sometime between 15 to 20 years from now, I'll let you do the big stuff. Because frankly, you got to prove yourself to me. You have to prove yourself to me. That's trust last. Trust first is, here's our why. Here's the what. Who wants to own the what? You want that one? You got it. You understand it, you make sure you got it. You got the what, you understand the why. Okay, it's yours. I never give assignments. I ask for volunteers. I haven't given an assignment in years. I ask for volunteers. Why is that? People volunteer for what they're interested in and passionate about. And even if nobody wants to do it because it's a really rotten job, at some point somebody will take one for the team and say, I'll do it. I'll hate it, but I'll do it. But their purpose, their passion is they're doing it for the team. So they'll put their best in it because they know it needs to be done. When I first got to WGU, the IT department was a train wreck. When the president of the university hired me, I had 8 direct reports. He said, Neil, if you want to fire all 8 and start over, I support you completely. He called it the black hole. Projects go in and never come out. That was in September. In May, the university president came to me and said, you got to slow IT down, you're killing us. We can't absorb how much stuff you get done. And I thought, that's a pretty good turnaround in a relatively short period of time. And you know how I did it? I got the entire IT team together. I mean the entire IT team. And I said, what is our current state? And I had to make sure we weren't being deceptive as to our current state. We do great work, the university just doesn't understand it. No, we suck. Now, if we were to improve, if our long-range goal were that the university says you got to slow down, what would have to be true? Let's back that up. What would have to be true? What would we have to change in order to achieve that goal? Okay, which of those things are the things we should focus on in the next few months? And that's how we did our plan. And once we'd identified those things, I said, you can't be too many. Okay, you've identified 20 things, we got to trim it, trim it, trim it. Can't do too many things. Okay, we're down to 6 things. Who wants to own number 1? 3 people raised their hands. I said, sorry, you can't have 3 owners. 1 person owns. The others are on the team, 1 person owns. Okay, who's going to own it? You are. Who else wants to work on this? That's what we worked on. And then we went to the next set, and the next set, and the next set. And that was in September. In May, we achieved our long-range goal, which was, you're killing me, Neil. You guys are doing too much. You got to stop. Why? And by the way, it was with the same group of idiots that the president wanted me to fire. They were superstars. Why? Because the previous CIO was a tyrannical micromanager. You did it his way, and if you didn't do it his way, he'd scream and yell at you. All I did was take good people and say, go be good people. Now, it works for me because I'm not that bright, so I can't actually own anything myself because I don't know how to do anything. So it actually kind of works. You guys might have a tougher time. Another thing to create a culture of trust is it's team-based rather than individually based measurements. In the history of mankind, there's no worse metric than lines of code per developer hour. Because as soon as you put per developer hour, you just made it individual. I can now measure individuals. I don't care about individual performance. Let me say it again. I don't care about individual performance. I care about team results. I let the team figure out performance. I tell my teams, I don't care when you work, I don't care where you work. I really don't. All I care about, I'm ever going to monitor are your outcomes. If you're delivering outcomes, I don't care if you can get them done in 1 hour a day. Now, if you're getting them 1 hour a day, let me know. I'd like to give you more. Because we have a 30-year backlog of stuff we got to get through. So if you're getting through that stuff that fast, I'd love to have you do more. Team-based measurements, outcome-based. I don't care about methods. Build confidence. Build confidence through short iterations and early wins. This is how I align this trust ownership model to team maturity and capacity. What if they're not ready to take on the big hairy thing? Then turn it into a set of smaller, less big, less hairy things that they can get done and learn and experience and start to grow. And this goes back to what you said. I always want to put the purpose over my personal agenda. Have you ever worked with anybody who put personal agenda over the team or organization's purpose? Did you trust them? Never. So since I'm trying to build a culture of trust, I have to put purpose over personal agenda. I don't care what happens to me. I really don't. Well, really I do. But I can't. And that's how I have to work on all the time. How do I make sure that this isn't about me?